Mr. Robin Waite. Yeah,
That's it.
I'm pronouncing that
Yes,
right.
you have. Yeah, you got it right.
Awesome. So Okiki, Okiki. It's a Nigerian name. I'm from Nigeria, so you can pronounce it any other way, but it's just Okiki. It's pronounced how it looks.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I am a web solutions expert. So that's what I like to call myself. But the general term is a web developer. I build websites for businesses, um, for majorly businesses, professionals. I build website solutions. Normal websites are what most people do, but I build website solutions that are specific to the business's needs. And I reached out to you because I saw that it's what you do basically, helping businesses, grow, reach better clients, pricing their products, making better products and everything. And that's why I reached out
That's
to you.
it.
So yeah. Uh, this meeting, the discussion is just going to be for just like a quick 30 minutes, where I'll introduce you to my guests who are going to be watching. I said guests. I'll introduce my guests to the viewers, and well, I like it better, if you introduce yourself because I may not
Yeah.
be able to do it as well as you, right? So you introduce yourself, and then we'll just start talking. I just ask a couple of questions, start talking, and we go from there. That's fine.
See where we end up. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Let's start. Yeah. I'm here with Robin Waite. Just can you introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me onto the show. Massively appreciate that, and very excited to see what we actually get into in the discussion. So obviously I'm Robin Waite, the founder of Fearless Business, which is a coaching practice for coaches, consultants and freelancers. I actually started out life not as a business coach, but running a marketing agency, so primarily doing web design and branding. I did that for 12 years. I was very fortunate I was able to sell it for a modest fee back in 2016. At that point, I didn't really have many plans. I just kind of was going to spend a bit more time with my family. And over the preceding months after the sale, several agencies approached me and said, "Oh, we heard you sold. How did you do that?" So I started doing a bit of informal mentoring to start off with, and then things sort of escalated. So I've got a couple of books which I'd written. I started to get more consulting work, more invitations to speak and to come onto podcasts and things like that as well. And I had to eventually take it a little bit more seriously. So set up the business coaching practice, obviously Fearless Business, and the rest is history, really.
Okay, that's wonderful. I actually did some research on you, on what you do, your podcast, your YouTube channel. Honestly, I would actually want to subscribe to it. I keep forgetting because it's something like someone like me, um, a lot of young business owners, upcoming entrepreneurs, and everything should watch. Should watch because it's something that helps them grow and everything. So next question: what specifically do you do for businesses? I went through your websites. I went through your books. I didn't really read all of them because time constraint and everything. But I went through your books. I went through your value proposition basically. So like I saw pricing. I saw business strategy. But can you just explain what exactly it is, the value, the specific value that it provides for businesses, for consultants, for freelancers?
Yeah, so those business owners that are very much in that service client space, they typically charge themselves out at an hourly rate or day rate before they meet me. So and these people they're incredibly smart people. They get amazing results for their clients, but they haven't figured out that their value which they deliver to the clients isn't really about the thing which they do. It's the result of the thing which they do for the end client. So my job really is to help people, first of all, see the hourly rate charging just doesn't work as a business model. It's a flawed business model, and we can dig into that if you want to, but there's a number of different reasons why. But once we kind of or the alternative, I should then say, to hourly rates is then to what we call productize their service. So Take that hourly rate package and let's bundle up the features of it, talk about what the outcomes are, and then how the customer actually sees that. And there's 3 steps basically, which we go through in that productized service framework. So the first one is to look at the dream outcome that you deliver for a client. So take something like web design, for example. The client isn't buying a website. What they're probably most likely buying is leads for their business. They want their website to get their name out there on Google and be linked to their social media profiles, so that when somebody is interested in their services, they can learn more about them and they can go on to ultimately place an inquiry. So you're not building websites. The goal is you're building something which is going to generate leads for your customers, and ultimately it's going to make
call it a website solution. Right? That's what I call it. Not website solution. You can carry on.
Because nobody cares, do they, Okiki, about things like, sorry, I know I've got a bit of a mouthful then with your name, but nobody cares about standards compliance or the what framework, whether you build it on WordPress or Wix or Weebly or Squarespace or wherever. They don't care about any of those things. They're not buying that thing. They're buying the result of that, the website. The second thing is, can we then deliver that result within a fixed period of time? So is it possible that you could build somebody a simple website that could get found on Google within 30 days and start generating them leads for their business? You might need to do a couple of other peripheral things, maybe hook it up to like Google My Business, get some reviews on there, add some images, maybe connect it up to a YouTube channel. But ultimately, can you build that website within 30 days and start to generate that business leads? And then the final part is, rather than it being done over sort of an hourly rate basis, can we deliver that for a fixed fee? So the example which I always use is, imagine we had 3 web designers, okay?
Yeah.
And thankfully, you're a web designer. I'm a web designer, so we both know this well, right? So we have 3 web designers. Web designer number 1 comes into the room and they're like, right, Okiki, I'm going to build you a website. I think it'll take about 20 hours and it'll cost you $50 an hour. So you go, okay, seems reasonable. We'll go with that. So you agree, they go off. Several months later, they come back with a website. It doesn't have a blog, doesn't have the shopping cart you wanted. And they go, oh, sorry about that. I was a bit busy because I'm too cheap. I took on too many clients. I'll add those things onto your site, but you've got to pay the extra 10 hours. And you're thinking, hold on a minute. I wanted those, that was part of the agreement in the first place. Now the client's resentful that they're not getting what they wanted. And the web designer reluctantly agrees to do the 10 hours for free because that's what they promised. And so now they're feeling a bit resentful as well. So that's our first clue that hourly rates just don't work basically as a business model. The second web designer comes along and they're brilliant. They've been doing it for years, right? But they don't know what you and I know about pricing, okay? So they're still charging $50 an hour, but because they've been doing it for so long, it only takes them 10 billable hours. And they've done everything. They've done the blog and the shopping cart and they've built this lead machine. But hang on a second, they're only getting paid $500 when they're better and do it faster and more experienced than the person who's less experienced, it takes longer and they make mistakes. So again, there's our second clue that hourly rates don't work, right? The final clue, and this is where you shift from hourly into like productized services, and this is what I help clients sort of see the value in. Imagine, Okiki, that we've got a website ninja, right? She's going to build you a website in 72 hours. And her promise is that at the end of the 30 days, if it's not delivering 15 to 20 like qualified leads for your business, she'll refund you all of the money, plus she'll pay you $1,000 for wasting your time. Okay. Which one of the 3 are you most likely to use?
Definitely the third person.
Yeah, the third person. Here's the kicker, right? Her websites cost $10,000. But if you're a business coach like me and your web designer is producing 15 to 20 qualified leads for your business, that's worth several tens of thousands of dollars worth of sales. So you can see the value proposition is very strong there. So that's the first thing, productizing the service, getting people comfortable with like their pricing. We could have a bit of fun here, Okiki, if you want to.
Okay, I'm
have a bit of fun.
Yeah. Sure.
So you build websites, for example. How much typically do you charge for a website?
I have 2 pricing models actually. I have the landing page, the templates, and the custom, right? And of course, there are other services. There are other extra services you could add on. The landing page is $200 upfront, and then $100 because I like to charge for Um, I like to charge monthly recurring stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
monthly subscription. So 200, and then for a full website, that's for a templated design, right? There, I'm not doing too much custom stuff. It's there, it's down there, just copy and paste. $2,000. So they get that within 72 hours, right? Plus monthly recurring fee, obviously. I do that for all of my services.
Okay.
And then I also have the custom design, $5,000. And then yeah, that's basically what I charge. That's basically the pricing system I'm using or I want to use because I'm still new, I'm still getting customers, I'm still green in the field actually, but that's the strategy I am using right now.
Yeah, so I would argue that even the landing page one at sort of $200 is too cheap. I think you could raise the price on that. And I think you could probably go to maybe 400, 500, 600, 800 pounds, $800, sorry for that, maybe $900.
And it's something that I like to use to get people into the gate, right? To be like, okay, I'll build you this landing page, right? I'll build you the landing page. If you like it, it's $200, and then I'll help you manage it $100 per month. And
Yeah.
I'm currently doing that for a client right now, and then um, from there I could upgrade them to a full website. And
But did you notice, Okiki, did you notice though, as I was going through, I got to $900 and you didn't even blink. You didn't stop me and say, whoa, 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 Robin, that's too expensive.
I need to. Yeah,
So you're conscious, like this is quite interesting. When it comes to pricing, we try and solve pricing as like an intellectual problem. We try and solve it with this. But actually pricing is very much like, as you know, when you buy something, it's very much about the feelings, right? So we got to $900. You didn't stop me, which means your subconscious is telling us that you're way too cheap at $200, and actually you could probably significantly increase that and still be adding loads of value to your clients.
Yeah.
I get that you're going to upgrade people like further down the line, but if a client's going to spend $200, they'll probably spend $500, and actually that $500 is much closer to the 2,000 anyway for the next sort of level up website which they want to get.
So we want them to what I feel you're saying, like you want them to have a kind of sense that okay, why don't I just go up to $2,000? It's just $500, just easier, just go up to $2,000.
Yeah. But you could charge significantly more, I think, just even for that basic package. But did you see the difference there between your head and your heart, like where you were with your pricing just on that one package? And also you could look at maybe your $5,000, your top level package. Is there a world in your future, I don't know, 12 months time or 2 years time, where you're charging $20,000 for that?
Yes, actually. And the idea that I'm actually looking into is that, if I'm charging $20,000 for that, it's be like $5,000 for just the website, and there are other services that their cost go up to $10,000. Their cost go up to $6,000, $20,000, and it's obviously the monthly recurring from it also. So that's how I'm looking at it. And the pricing for the custom web design, of course, should go up because as I go up, as I get more clients, get more value, get more results, get something to show people. Be like, okay, this guy is someone to go to. He wants to get a solution. So, my value, I already know my value, but my price value to others also go up, and then my price can also go up. But yes,
Yeah.
Right now, it's actually there's a plan for me. There's a plan set down that okay, if you want this and this particular thing to happen in your business, maybe you want to have a subscription website, not a subscription website, or a course website, or then a course website, something like that. This is how much you want to charge. This is what you want to.
Yeah, you've got it. So it sounds like you're already really confident, but I would say 99% of business owners really lack that confidence when it comes to sort of scaling up their prices. And they're a lot of the time they're thinking about their prices in relation to how much they would value it, that as a service, rather than again thinking about it in terms of like how much their clients would value it. So one of the things to one of the ways I like to illustrate this is, can you think of a time when you've saved up some money for something really nice that you've treated yourself to? So, it could, are you willing to share what it might be?
That would be that was the first time that I did it. I think I was in secondary school, secondary school, I saved some money for shoes, like pennies and dollars. I was just saving up. Because I wanted to buy a new shoe, and then
Yeah,
by the end of the month, I was able to get that shoe and everything. And then I think the second time was when I wanted to get a guitar when I just finished secondary school. I was going to the university. So yeah, saved up some money, got the guitar, all that. Yeah.
that's it. So, and how did you feel? So when you walked into the shop and you worked hard, you'd saved that money, you walked into the shop and you spoke to the cashier and you handed over the money for those shoes. How did you feel?
It felt really nice. I bought it online, but it felt really nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. So I'm not one necessarily for shiny things. I like tech. I like cameras and things like that. Right, like microphones, because I mean it's business related as well, so I can kind of rationalize it. But so I rarely sort of treat myself, and I hadn't long met my wife. This is about 12 years ago, and prior to meeting her, I'd spent about 3.5 years renovating my first house, rebuilding it from like literally back to walls and back to brick and then off like the whole thing. And I met her in sort of the last sort of 6 months or so of that project. And when I finally finished that house, and she was thinking about sort of moving in with me, she said to me, "Rob, how are you going to celebrate this?" And I was like, "Oh, I just wasn't really planning. I'll go and get a takeaway or something, nice meal." And she's like, "No, you should really do something to like celebrate, treat yourself." And I'm not wearing it today. I wish I was, but because a Tag Heuer watch was something which I'd had my eye on for ages. I've never really been into like Rolexes or really super expensive stuff, but I'd seen this tag. I really liked it in Goldsmith. So it was a Christmas, I think it was Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, after I decided I was going to buy this watch. I went to my local town, and it's freezing cold, as it always is here in the UK. Stood outside the shop window in my local town looking at this watch. And my wife and girls are off sort of Christmas shopping, so she's busy. And the shopkeeper came out of the shop, which is unheard of here in the UK. You always have to go into the shops to buy. So she came out and she said, "Excuse me, sir." And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "You've been stood here for half an hour. Are you going to come inside?" So I've been stood at this shop window looking at this watch, right? I was like, "Oh, no, because I know if I come into the shop, I'm probably going to buy it, right?" So I come in and I try the watch on, and I'm like, "Yes, brilliant. I'm going to buy it." And I made that decision. And she said, but I held back. I was like, "Sure." And she went, "Is there anything that we can do that will help you to like walk out the shop with this watch today?" I said, "Yeah, well, I kind of had like £1,200 budget in mind, and it was about 1,500 this watch. And tags go up on January the 1st every year. They go up in value. So it would have probably been over £2,000. I said, "Oh, about £1,200. She said, "I'll go away and I'll speak to the manager." And she came back and she said, "Yes, it's Christmas Eve, so why not?" So yeah, it's a great deal on this watch. But when I handed over that money, which at the time for me was an awful lot of money, I just felt so good. And the thing is, like in business, when somebody asks us, like a customer says, "How much is that?" We always go, "Oh, it would be $5,000 or something." We kind of shrink, right? We lack confidence. We can't like. But on the flip side of that, you've got this customer who has saved up this money. They've done a load of research. They've chosen you as their web designer or their coach or their whatever it is that they're going to, their watch seller. They've chosen you as that supplier. And the person they're going to have those warm and fuzzy feelings that you got when you bought your trainers, that I got when I bought my watch. So why not, when somebody asks us how much something is, do we not celebrate with them? And we say, "It's $5,000. And this is going to be the best decision that you could make with your life. We're going to absolutely transform your online presence. We're going to build you the best website that we possibly can do. I want to really like ramp your business up with you. Like, I'm really excited for you about like the journey you're about to embark on." And that's just reflecting the value that's being given to us, and also being true to the value that we can also then give to our customers. And I think a lot of business owners get very caught up here around like their own internal value system, their own relationship with money, and they find it very hard to see things from the customer's perspective, to put themselves in their shoes about this really exciting thing they're about to embark on.
That's a lot. That's I really enjoy that. You know, if there's one thing that a lot of people, whenever I talk about prices, especially in Nigeria and our economy is going to shit. I just feel like that. So yeah,
I
that's
think
what.
everyone's is at the moment. Like you look at the state of what's going on in America at the moment with their presidential election. I don't want to get into politics too much, but we just had an election here. We had a terrible prime minister about 6 months ago, absolutely crashed our economy here in Britain as well. You know, I think the world is struggling at the moment. It's not just Nigeria.
Honestly. And everybody's just out there just doing stuff. And then whenever I talk to someone, I'm like, how much do you charge? I'm like, you can't pay. You can't pay for what I do. Like that's one thing. You can't pay for what I do. If I tell you how much I do my stuff, you run away. Like say it. I'll tell them okay because I just convert it to naira. I do some kind of stuff, cover slash it in half because naira to dollars is actually 1,500. That bad. So I'm like, okay, let me just call him half. I tell him the price in naira. Like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I said, I know you can't do it, but then it's something that
But you should be Okiki. You're an inspiration to other people in Nigeria because you've found a way to essentially like you've cracked the code on like understanding the global economy, the global marketplace. You could be showing other people how to create wealth and work with people internationally. And I was going to say, a lot of people these days, I think, are too proud. I don't know if that's the right word, but too proud even to like earn $10. They think that somehow that's beneath them, but actually, like getting onto there's websites like I know there's slight complications. They're a little bit inaccessible, but sites like Fiverr.com and these various different marketplaces which they don't work in all of the countries, but I'm sure there are ways that even in Nigeria that you can tap into the global marketplace and make $10 here or $100 there in the same way that you've kind of figured out how to do it.
I'm actually planning on trying something like that. Yeah, it's time and place and a lot of things at the moment. So, but then that's thank you very much for that. Yeah. Okay, so next question. So you work with several businesses, you work with various businesses, and it's talked about pricing strategy and everything. Now, what's apart from just the pricing and strategy, coming to a business person, what are like the major things that they need to do, action plans that they need to be able to improve their value, to be able to bring in more customers, even because I read when you were talking about pricing on your websites, how the case study actually that you talked
Yeah,
about on the website. It wasn't about the pricing; it was about the down the what do you call it now? The downline. They were losing so much money from the tools that they haven't fixed and everything, and then they had to close their doors to customers and then fix that offers. So right, so what are the major things that businesses need to look into? Maybe it's their marketing, maybe it's their value proposition. Yeah, I think we've talked about value proposition, but maybe
yeah,
it's their funnel. Let me put it like that. Yeah, their funnel because
yeah.
I'm basically a Russell Brunson baby. You know Russell Brunson.
Yes, I do. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm familiar. Yeah.
yeah. I'm basically one of these. This is just yeah. So what are the major things that you need to look into? Yeah, that's the question.
I think a lot of people get really hung up on the actual their business model, and capacity is like one of the major ones. So a lot of typically how most businesses end up starting is like you become moderately good at something, and then your mum or your brother or somebody or your friend says, oh Kiki, you seem really like into computers and building websites. You should turn that into a business, right? So there was that point where it went from being fun and learning about it to actually transitioning into then making it a business. And so then off they go. They start, Okiki starts building websites, but then Okiki builds websites and it's like, it's not really making me the money that I want it to make me. I don't really understand, but I'm really busy and it's not. So there's like just some really basic like maths that we need to do in terms of like figuring out what the business model looks like. So my point there was most people like come up with an idea and then just like go and do a load of social media and hope that people buy it. And then they call that a business, right? It's much better though if you've got an idea about your financial goals. So have you, for example, thought about what your financial goal for the next 12 months might be?
Not in details actually, but one of the things that I majorly want to do is because I am actually kind of short on resources. I won't say money, the resources I need to provide the type of value that I want to provide. I want to get I want to pay for a lot of things like uh, okay, I use WordPress basically. So there are a lot of plugins on WordPress. So you get what I'm saying? Like I want to pay for a lot of resources that I will need to get those to get that value that I want to provide for my customers ready. So that when they come, I can just be like, this is what I need. I already have what I need. So they'll be like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
just going to add you on into this place. So that's basically my financial goal at the moment to get everything I need, right? Upgrade my tech I use,
So
right?
would 100K, $100,000, would that be enough in the next 12 months?
Definitely.
Okay. So let's say the average value of every client. So let's say the average falls at 2K, your 2K package ends up being the most bought package, right? Now, over the next 12 months, that basically means you've got to take $100,000, divide it by $2,000. So you've got to sell 50 websites next year. Is that achievable?
Yeah, that's definitely achievable. If I'm doing about 4 websites per month, yeah,
Okay.
that's achievable.
But are they all at that 2K sort of level, or are they more of the 2K? Okay.
If they are the 2K sort of level, but I think I have not worked on a good marketing strategy that will get me that 2K sort of level.
Okay, so that's really important. Okay, so we've got 2 levers here which we're pulling, right? So the first one is, so we've taken our dream revenue, divided by the average order value, average sale, and we've come up with basically 4 sites a month, which you think you can do. So the first lever is capacity. Do we actually have the capacity to be able to deliver that number of units of that thing, right?
That's the problem. I don't have the capacity to do that actually.
Okay, how many websites could you build then?
In a month, I can do 2 very well.
2. Okay.
Yeah.
So we already know then that you're going to fall short of your financial goals. So your business model, it's hypothetical, the 100K, but your business model is already fundamentally flawed because you don't have the capacity to be able to build enough sites. Okay.
Yeah.
The other lever that we're pulling as well is demand. You mentioned about marketing and funnels. So do you have enough? So it's not just about the 50 sites that you've got to build next year, because I don't know what your conversion rate is on sales. It might be like 1 in 5. So actually, you don't just need 50 leads, potential clients. You actually need probably 250 leads to generate those 50 sales. So do you have enough demand at the moment?
No, I don't.
No. Okay. So we're actually we've pulled back both the levers, and we're light on capacity, we're light on demand. Okay. So one way to adjust capacity is to charge more, raise our average order value. So if you can only do 2 sites a month, you've got to bring the average order value up to $4,000 or $5,000 per website for each and every website you build. Okay, or find an apprentice, a couple of junior developers that you can start to train up to release some of that capacity, so that you can build more of those two, so we can get to 4 to 5 sites per month at 2K. Okay. So that's our first lever that we're busy sort of pulling and adjusting. The demand side is interesting though. Okay, like here's where you're doing something which is really incredible, because I doubt that there's many people in Nigeria, and I'm making a big assumption here, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, right? I doubt that there's that many people in Nigeria who have a podcast and are doing what you're doing in terms of trying to build a YouTube presence, for example, right? So you have an unfair advantage, but the only challenge is though that everybody's doing that in America and the UK and Western civilized culture.
Yeah, because so I'm sorry for cutting you short. Yeah, because one of the major ways that I know that okay, I'm doing some things. I don't measure what I do based on what people are doing in my country. I measure what I do.
Yeah.
I try to do the barest minimum, bare minimum of what everybody else does outside the country, like what America does. So that's why I do things like this, to get in touch with global customers, global clients. So please continue.
But you're still light years ahead of your peers in the local area, which is that's awesome, and that will give you a huge unfair advantage as well, because you'll start to get known for that. And then, so this is where people get marketing wrong in 2024, right? So we'll rewind the clock 20 years, right? When I first started my first business doing websites, right? So here in the UK, I can quote UK stats, and I've found it's similar in most countries globally. But in the UK, 20 years ago, we had, I think it was about 500,000 registered businesses, okay? Fast forward 20 years to today, there's now 6 million registered businesses in the UK. And that's thanks to the internet. The internet has made it really easy, accessible for people to register a business, get online, start to sell products and services, and away they go. And there's also like this global demand thanks to the internet as well. But back in 2004, I could build a website, get some business cards printed, and go to local networking meetings, and I could get clients. It was like really easy, okay? Today, you've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. You can carry on, right? Email marketing, ClickFunnels, you name it. You know, you've got all of these different media, plus 10 times the number of business owners competing within that market, right? So marketing is really hard, right? I won't swear. It's really bloody hard. So, but knowing that also, again, it should help people to change the way that they think about marketing, okay? So I had a very powerful lesson handed to me last year, actually, in 2023, which entirely changed the way that I was looking at marketing. So up until the 1st of January 2023, I was doing the same type of marketing as everybody else. I was doing all of the social media, the blogging, content marketing, the funnels, the ads. I had my books, podcast interviews, my own podcast. I was doing all of the stuff that all the experts kind of tell you to do. 1st of January, I was just a bit burnt out. I was tired of like doing all of that stuff. And the results were like, I call it, do you feel familiar with Noah's Ark? The story of Noah's Ark.
Yeah,
like one by one, by one, by one, by one, by one, by one. Like that's very much what marketing feels like in 2024. All of this opportunity, but we just get drip fed these customers like bit by bit. So I was like, enough. I'm done with that. I'm tired. I'm in my 40s now. I've got a family. I'm just tired of doing all of that stuff, right? So I stopped. And it might surprise you, and probably it was as a result of that, but there's a punchline to this. In the first 8 months of last year, I only enrolled 3 clients. Right now, most people would look at that as a business coach, online, global, with what I've achieved. 3 clients is really bad, but I had 25 inquiries during that time, like qualified consultations. 22 of them just weren't best fit for me. I didn't feel like I'd add enough value to their business to warrant taking them on as clients, right? So it wasn't just other people's choices, it was my own. I don't feel comfortable taking people's money if I can't help them. That's my philosophy, that's my value. And I would rather be poor, homeless and destitute than take somebody's money. I had one client, a one-to-one client, at £10,000 ready to sign up to me. And I was like, I'm sorry, but this isn't the best fit for you. It's wrong timing. Here's where I would spend your money. And, you know, 8 months later, he did come back and we ended up working together because he spent his money wisely with my help. And then he did come back as a client. But what happened in August, a podcast interview went live with a YouTuber, a guy called Ali Abdall. So Ali he's one of the most well-known YouTubers in the field of productivity. He used to be a doctor. He's now grown his YouTube channel up to be, I think, close to 6 million subscribers. And I was fortunate enough to get an invitation to go onto his podcast. But most people would think, oh, that sounds like a bit of an accident. It wasn't. So I'd spent from January the 1st and stopping everything else, saying no to every other form of marketing. And I got hyper intentional. So I got really clear on where I wanted to be found and how, and the question which I triggered in my mind over sort of that New Year period was, I'm fed up with the one by one by one. What if I needed to get 1,000 leads by this time next week? What would I do? And it was none of the stuff that I was doing previously. And I realized in that short space of time that there are influential people out there who already have large numbers of my audience, you know, that they've built on YouTube and various other platforms and things like that. Why am I going to try and build my own audience when somebody's already done all of that hard work, right? I can build my own audience in my own time, but let's leverage some of those larger audiences. So I got hyper intentional. I picked out at the time about a dozen influencers basically that I followed. People that I absolutely just, I think that they've got the right message. I love their energy. They're just really cool people to be around. I've been to their events and they're just really fun. So I was like, right, I'm going to identify 12 of them and I'm just going to focus my efforts on following them, supporting them, being helpful, sharing their content. Whenever they're at an event, I'll go and support them at the event. I'll go and have a selfie with them. I'll just be in their world.
Yeah.
So this is what I did from January the 1st to, I think it was the middle of June when we recorded the episode. For 6 months, I showed up in Ali's world and I put everything into his world. No expectation of anything back in return. I was like, just give, just help. That's all I was doing. As he grew his team, I was coaching some of his team. I did that for free. And then eventually somebody said, Rob, I can't believe how much you've done for us. Is there anything that we can do for you? Right. So I said, well, I know Ali's like recording for the podcast. He's got a couple of seasons. There's going to be like 20 plus guests. If one of them doesn't happen to show up, call me. I'll put me on the subs bench. I'll come and I'll record so you don't miss that slot. And sure enough, in June, I got the call. On a Thursday, could you come down on the Tuesday and record with Ali? And I was like, let me just check my diary. Yes. Right. Cancelled everything, got on the train and away I went. Now that one interview, that's one 2.5 hour long interview, and maybe we could share a link to it with this because it might be interesting for people to watch the interview. Because we did a whole coaching journey through it. We've had 2 separate sort of businesses which Ali came up with, hypothetical businesses. So I coached him through the whole startup journey with it. It's really cool. That one interview produced 3,000 leads for me in the last 12 months. In the first 90 days alone, it produced 1,500 leads.
Wow.
I gave away, part of it was we decided we were going to, me and Ali would sign 15 copies of the book and we'd give them away as like a prize. Those first 15 copies on the episode, they were gone in like 20 minutes of the episode going live. And I kept on getting requests for the books. I just kept on sending them out. So I sent out over 800 physical signed copies of the book. Wow. All 4 corners of the globe, including Nigeria as well. But Mongolia, down to Australia, all across like North and South America, all around the world. And I think in total now, I think we've enrolled 25 clients and done over £200,000 worth of new business just from that one interview, right? Now, let's put this into perspective. So all of the traditional forms of marketing that people tell you about in 2024, which I'd done for several years, 3,000 leads was about 3.5 years worth of marketing efforts for me the old way. Mm-hmm. And I got that in 1 2-hour interview.
But it's not just 1 2 hours interview. You spent 6 months.
Well, yeah, minor detail, like Kiki.
Yeah. It takes for some detailed matter. So yeah,
it didn't feel like work. It was just like I was hanging out with some really cool people, and I still do, and I've got some really cool stuff happening in the pipeline. But and again, quantity wise, so I was probably doing 20-30 hours a week on social media prior to that, like grinding, just constantly pushing out content. With my partnerships now, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours a week, so like a fraction of the time, but just see the impact. It's like huge if you do it well.
Okay, that's resonates with me in the kind of way that like what I'm doing here, like with the interviewing business professional and experts, like what you just said, because I tried the conventional marketing stuff, Instagram, Twitter, the X, LinkedIn, everything. I will admit I'm a lazy person. I rather put my energy into something that I can see that okay, I'm going somewhere with it, than something that I'm just doing it. And I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just get tired of it. So it's really resonant because in fact after this we are going to close very soon. We have 18 more minutes before we have to leave here. So yeah, I'm going to do something quite shameless. I'm going to like give you I'm going to pitch myself to you, of course, with something you value and everything. Just because I know what I am looking for, like for people that are also going to be listening to. Like I want to be intentional about a channel of client acquisition, right?
Yeah.
I know that if I post every day on LinkedIn, I would only get maybe one client per month. If I post every day on Instagram, Instagram it's how will I put it? It's the battle of who has the most money right now, who has the most money to run ads right now.
Yep.
Yeah, on Instagram, right? It's not about how much, but if I can get value, if I can give value to people with value, because that's majorly my mindset with value,
Yeah.
and then I'll be able to those goals that I'm trying to achieve, those things I'm trying to achieve, and that's for people that are actually watching. I'm just using myself as an example because a better example is there than himself, right? So goals that I want to achieve so that I can achieve those goals. Yeah.
Well, one of the things which you might want to consider. So I've got a bit of an inside track on this. So I get the rankings of the Fearless Business podcast, which I've got. I get the rankings like sent to me on a daily basis, and my podcast ended up in the top 10 marketing podcast in Nigeria actually last week, right? So imagine if you were guesting on some of those top 10, not just in marketing, but in whatever business, entrepreneurship, sales. There's lots of different sort of categories, that you could potentially get into. But if you could get onto just like 5 of those top 10 podcasts in Nigeria, that would outdo any other forms of marketing that you're doing within your business, because it just elevates you as that key person of influence.
I totally agree with that. So that's really good. I also want to ask a question. So, we are talking podcast, we are talking YouTube, we are talking meetings. Are there other much more intentional ways, like not just posting than anything, but like very intentional ways, like what would you suggest for something like Instagram? What would you suggest for something like Facebook, right? What would you suggest for intentional marketing? Because I that's how I'm defining it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you have the resources available, like YouTube is probably still one of the best opportunities out there. The reason for that is because, I say if you've got the right resources, that's actually the main barrier that stops people from getting onto something like YouTube, because you've got to have the camera, you've got to have the ability to be able to edit your videos, you've got to have decent internet to be able to upload the videos, you've got to understand enough about search engine optimization to be able to optimize those videos when you upload them to YouTube. The thing I think the reason why like the interview with Ali Abdall went down so well was because, one, it's on YouTube, that's kind of a given, but 2, when we actually recorded face to face. So this is great, don't get me wrong, this is like, you're really engaging, but I've been on podcasts where the host is like so boring, it's so hard to actually like get any kind of like life out of them, and I have to really work quite hard at it. But you're lovely, you've got such a wonderful smile, and you're just like totally engaged, which is good. But when you're in the room with somebody though, you can look at them, that conversation adds a different sort of vibe altogether. So I think that's why the interview with Ali went well. Anyway, what's my point? So YouTube, I think, is probably the biggest opportunity, because when people can see your face, and if they're going to sit there for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, 2 hours to watch an interview, they already feel like they know you, and that's incredibly powerful. So when it comes to the crunch and you're having that conversation, well, hey, do you want a website? Oh, well, Okiki, I mean, I've been following your YouTube for like several months, and you seem like a trustworthy chap, so yeah, I'd love for you to do my website. It's like it breaks down all the barriers immediately. Things like so one way to think about this, are you familiar with, Google did like a white paper, it was called 0 Moments of Truth. Have you come across that?
no.
So it's a study which they did like 20 odd years ago, which they've constantly updated, and it's now like a knowledge base, a website.
What do you call it? What do you
it's called 0 Moments of Truth.
Okay, 0 moments of truth. I think I'll do it.
ZMOT. So, in 0 Moments of Truth, what they said was these 3 really magical numbers: 7, 11, 4. In order for somebody to buy an expensive product, they have to have seen 7 hours of content across 11 different points. So website, books, podcasts, social medias, wherever it is, magazines, all the different touch points, and then across 4 different locations. So think about that, 7 hours of engagement. How long does it take to scroll through an Instagram post? Like seconds, right?
I wouldn't say come.
Yeah, like 5 seconds max, right? So you're a long way off 7 hours. So think about it this way. If somebody sits and watches this interview for an hour, and then they request a free copy of Take Your Shot, and it takes them 2 to 3 hours to read that. Then they go and watch the pricing video, which you mentioned earlier on, which is about, I think, 30 or 40 minutes. Then they go and maybe join my Facebook group, and they read some of the posts and watch some of the videos. That you can see, I've managed to get an hour of an interview, 3 hours reading the book, and half an hour on a video. So I'm clocking up that 7 hours very quickly. So that's why YouTube is so powerful, because if you can pick up one subscriber who watches every video, you've punched your way through 7-11-4 immediately. It's like gone. You can't do that on Instagram. Well, you can, it just takes a bloody long time. But you probably want to focus on things like Reels, so people keep seeing your videos pop up. TikTok Lives are brilliant for building up that 7-11-4. LinkedIn, if you've got something like a LinkedIn newsletter, so people actually are engaged with the content and read it, and if there's a video in there as well, that's a great way to chip away at 7-11-4 on LinkedIn. On websites, again, like, you know, having a blog on there with like multiple articles and videos and things like that is massively helpful. And even having like, if you're a business owner, like on your website, you know, here's our 7-step process broken down with a video for each of the 7 steps. That's going to elicit quite a lot of trust in helping somebody to make a decision, right? So there are ways to build up, but the key thing is like 7 hours of engagement, 11 touch points. If you do that, you'll nail it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. I would actually love to continue this goal for our time is almost up. Yeah, so thank you very much, Robin.
My pleasure.
I really enjoyed this. I'm very, very, very sure that people that are watching this channel, watching this video, will enjoy this also.